Alright, boys and girls, today we are going to be moving on with the next steps of our Pablo Picasso inspired Frankenstein. We are going to be using some more scrap paper, mostly black, and maybe a little bit of green, depending on some of the details that we add to our Frankenstein. The first one that's really important is you're going to get a long skinny piece of paper like this one. This is going to fit right on top of his head, and this is going to be his hair. We are going to make zigzag lines across the bottom of this paper to make his hairline. So I'm just going to scoot this to the side, and I'm going to make zigzags up and down all the way across the paper, just like that. And then I'm going to cut on that line. Back and forth, all the way around. Now I have lots of these little triangles. Okay, so here I have Frankenstein's hair. Now, your hair on your Frankenstein, depending on where you put his eyebrows and things, you may need to cut some off the top of his head so that it fits and doesn't cover up his eyebrows and his eyes. Mine look pretty close. It's a little bit too tall here. You can see it's hanging off the edge of my paper. So I'm going to go ahead and cut some off. I'm just going to cut this straight line to trim it down. And now it looks like it would fit right there. So I'm going to go ahead and take some baby dots of glue. I like to put my baby dots on the side where you can still see your pencil line. That way when we flip this over, our pencil line is hidden and we don't see it on our finished artwork. So I'm just going to put some baby dots here along the edges. Flip it over and stick it down. Okay. Now we are ready to start making some extra details for our Frankenstein. I'm going to make a nose for my Frankenstein. Since my curved line didn't curve out as far as I had hoped it would, I'm going to make a nose just by taking a green piece of paper, and I'm going to cut a big triangle like that. And if you don't like the shape of that nose, then you can cut it any shape that you want. I'm going to cut mine down just a little bit. And again, our Frankenstein is inspired by Pablo Picasso, and his faces are always very angular, so that your nose does not have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be straight. It can be small, it can be big. There's really no wrong or right way to do it. It's just whatever shape you like for your Frankenstein. And if you don't want to have a nose at all, then that's fine too. I'm going to tilt his nose up a little bit, like that, just to make him look a little extra crazy. And then I'm going to use some more of my scrap papers here. Actually, this is probably a nice one. I'm going to cut this one like that. And this could be, I'm going to cut a little bit shorter. This could actually be a bolt. So I could have a rectangle that way, and then another smaller rectangle that's going to go like this. And now we have a bolt for his neck. I'm going to put a couple baby dots and glue that down. And I like to tuck it underneath the paper if you can. Just like this. I'll do another one over on this side, and I'm going to make it actually a lot smaller or shorter than that one, because again, we're talking about Picasso, so nothing should be exactly the same. see if I can tuck it underneath there a little bit, and I can. I'm going to tilt it down just to make it look a little bit different than the other side. Like that. We can also use some of our black paper scraps to make some lines that look like stitches. So I'm going to cut a long skinny line like this. I'm going to make one more long skinny. This one I'm going to cut like that, so I could have a stitches there. I think I might put one right here too underneath that eye. So I'm going to cut it a little bit shorter, and then with what's left over in my second line, we can glue these across to make him look like he's been sewn together. So again, I would just very carefully use baby bats of glue to glue these little pieces down. Put some stitches there. Frankenstein probably, I think he also has bolts up here, so I'm going to make a couple more bolts. So I'm just cutting another line, and then I'm going to cut about like that, and about like that. I'm going to make two more that will be the ends or the nuts that go on the bolts, like that and like that. And then we could glue those on. And as you can see, the more details that you're adding, the more he's going to look like Frankenstein. I might actually have some of these triangles left over from cutting, so I wonder if that might be an interesting way to make a nostril on his nose, that hole that we breathe through. That's kind of fun. And I might use some of these other triangles that I had left over from my zigzag line up here to add to his ears, kind of like that. And once I have them all laid out where I want them, then I would go back and start gluing everything down, just like this. So you will have your black pieces of paper, and you can start designing your Frankenstein in whichever way that you want. He is going to be your creation. I'm going to put a little dot glue there. We're probably going to have some messy fingers because we're using little pieces for these last steps, but that's okay. Messes happen in art sometimes. Okay, so as you can see, this really brings our Frankenstein to life.